So once you have your diet on par, the second thing that you need to look at is your sleeping schedule. Your body or our bodies repair itself during nighttime when you're sleeping, or during sleep at nighttime. It doesn't repair itself during daytime. So it's upon you as an individual to make sure that you alter your sleeping schedule in a way that it will cater for that repair that happens when you're sleeping. And lots of study came out showing that when you sleep in a proper rhythm, your body actually recycles certain plaque in your mind. So make sure that you get your sleep in order. You find a certain time in which each and every day you go to bed at night, because lack of sleep can cause syndromes such as multiple sclerosis and a whole lot of other syndromes that end up causing someone to not sleep at all. So you don't want to be a victim of such conditions or syndromes, because when you suffer from such syndromes, it becomes hard for your brain to function at a very fast speed, at a very better and smarter way. My people, make sure that you organize your sleep. Get that on point in your life. I don't care how busy you are, but find that point, find that space that you just dedicate to sleeping, so that your brain can be altered, so that your brain can be optimized to reach the levels that we just talked about here. The third methodology to optimize your brain to think faster, smarter and better is to know your program. When you know your program, you will not allow yourself to be told by other people, because we live in at times where a lot of us have so many philosophies that we bring out there to the world. Like when I'm watching this video, I'm sharing with you what I think can help you to think smarter, or can help you to optimize your way of thinking. However, when you know your program, even when you listen to other people, you'll be able to pick what that works for you, or what that suits your program, because program is very important. In science, we know that there's no ultimate solution, or there's no ultimate answer to all problems. Every problem has got a different answers depending on one individual to the other, and also science revolves over time. So you will agree with me that science is the only thing that is evolving constantly. That is why Galileo said 500 years ago that the earth is round, and people called him crazy. People were saying that he's crazy, and people were actually killed at that time for saying that the earth is round. Why? Because they didn't understand that there's no one particular answer or the ultimate answer to everything. So the problem that we have today is that people read this and they will assume, or they will conclude that this must be the answer. They read the next thing, they conclude that this must be the answer. But that's not always the case. And I need you to understand me very well when I say you need to understand your programming, or how your brain is wired. And what I mean by finding out how your brain is wired, or how your program is like, I mean, like, you need to find out the cycles for your brain, or how you think. Let me give an example with myself. I am someone who is more of an owl, someone who is very active at midnight till early mornings and all that. I wake up at mostly midnight, 12, 1 a.m. somewhere there. And at that time, I get a lot of things done. I write a lot of stuff. I'm like, my mind is on its maximum state, is on its peak. That's the time where a lot of crazy things happen in my brain. That's where I'm at the optimum level of my thinking. I'm at a fast rate. I am working. I'm functioning very, very well. That's a time where I believe, if it was according to me, I will write a lot of my exams at midnight, and I'll kill all of them like crazily, because that's the point, or that's the time where mostly my brain is at its peak. So we are different as humans. For someone, they may be an early bird, someone who wakes up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and that's the time where they're at the maximal point of brain activity. So if you know your program, it's easy for you to actually stick to what works for you. It's easy for you to work in alignment to how your brain is wired, because like myself, every time when it's midnight, I don't need an alarm to wake up. I don't need an alarm. My body's used to it. I just get up and get stuff done. So for me, at midnight, that's the time where I crunch. That's the time where I have less distractions. That's the time where I can do a whole lot of things in a very short period of time. Because for me, that's a time where my brain is at its optimal and it's at its peak to connect dots for different tasks and a whole lot of other things. However, what I've realized about my brain is that after lunchtime, from, let's say 12, going down there, my brain switches gears. It starts to slow down. It doesn't work at the same pace at which it works from 12 midnight till 11 in the morning. So that's what I've observed about myself, and I try by all means to maximize everything that I want to do at the time where I'm mostly active in my brain activity. So since I'm familiar with my program, I know that as the day progresses on the other side of the clock, my brain becomes low. However, that doesn't mean that it shuts down completely. No, at that time mostly I'm creative. It's a time where I don't do anything. I just sit down and lazy around, just sit down and imagine things and write them down. So mostly that's a time where I write stuff down because there's nothing else I can do. I just sit down and listen to this slow vibrations, this slow programs that go on in my mind at that time. At that time, my brain just works outside the box. It's not about the proactive part of it. At that time, it's just about being creative and all that. So that's basically what happens as the day progresses. So however, I encourage you to find out a program for yourself, how your mind is wired. You gotta figure out your program. You can't go against your grain. For instance, if you know your program, you'll know that you're not an owl or you're not an early bird. So if you're not an owl, don't force yourself to wake up at midnight just because Lesego wakes up at midnight. No, for you may be much better or you may be very active in the mornings, like waking up early in the morning. And if that's what works for you, stick to that and don't try to adopt another person's pattern, because we are wired differently. That is why each and every one of us has got like a different fingerprint. Why? Because we are different as humans. Basically, in regard to this, there is no any exercise to it. All you need is to know thyself. Now moving along into understanding how a person really thinks. That's individualized, and how a person absorbs information, because we have been programmed through school by certain people, by the society, to think in a very linear model, as in 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's how we've been programmed by what do I call them? By this individual societies and all those things, to think in this model. However, when you get to the human brain, or the model of a human brain, it's been built, or what has made it to think in fractional terms. It moves from A to Z, Z to X, X to B, B to F, F to G. It just moves randomly from one dot to the other. Why? Because that's the fractional pattern that's originally has been wired for a human brain to operate under. It doesn't go in a linear pattern, but it's fractal, like fractal geometry and the likes. With that being said, the whole pattern of reading a book from page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to page 4 to page 5, just like this in a linear pattern. It doesn't work. It doesn't fly. So the human brain, because it's fractal, like I said, it moves from A to Z to Z to G to it all goes back to preparation. What is it that your mind is prepared to learn at that particular time, or at that particular point or juncture in time? The whole idea of trying, let's say you want to learn something new. When you want to learn something new, the whole linear pattern of trying to learn that thing by taking maybe a book, in a particular subject, and you want to read it from page 1, 2, 3, just like you're reading, I don't know, just trying to read it page by page in that linear way, it's not gonna fly. That is where Mr. Elon Musk comes in. Like very often we know people, when they try to learn a particular subject, they try to attach it to a certain story, a certain mythos, a certain concept that is actually more of a program. But Elon Musk's model of thinking is a very amazing one. The guy is saying that when you are trying to learn something new, you should first get to the basics of that thing that you're trying to learn. For instance, let's say you're fascinated by something new that you want to learn. Let's say it's someone who is very in love with languages like myself. Let's say I want to learn Herero, or I want to learn maybe Kiswahili, and then I take a book that's maybe some sort of a dictionary for Swahili, and I try to learn random words. According to Elon Musk, that's not the pattern that works, whereby you try to learn like word by word, that okay, 4 is ne, 5 is tano, you're welcome is karibu, and the likes. No, Elon Musk is saying, if you want to learn the particular language that you choose, that I want to learn Swahili, this is what you gotta do. Musk is saying that when you learn that language, instead of like reading, today you're reading this word, okay, a shoe is called this in this language, a hand is called this in this language, you should rather get deep and ask yourself, what are the most common principles of this language? Get to those basics of asking yourself, what is the most common principle in this particular language that I'm trying to learn? In that, you do a deep research and then you dive. That takes you back to the foundation. What is the foundational principles of this particular language that I'm trying to learn? Let's say maybe you want to learn like I don't know, foreign exchange. Maybe you want to learn about foreign markets and so on. So when you pick a book that focuses on a forex industry, the first thing that you gotta learn, or that you gotta focus on when you start, is to ask yourself, what is it that is very core, or what is it that is very common in this whole market thing of foreign exchange? What is it that is most common when you talk of multinational exchange? When you have that, it helps you to build more and know what's the next thing that you gotta learn. And then once you learn these principles, you write them down. These principles are the ones that are going to determine your thought process, your thought patterns on the journey of reading, on the journey of trying to absorb information, on the journey of trying to grow smarter, and in your overall thinking pattern. From there, whatever new information that you're going to learn, you're going to base it against this core or foundational principles that you've learned. In essence, you become more of a scientist, because a scientist collects data, and they correspond that data that they have collected against what we call theory. So same thing applies to you. You have this foundational basic principles that you have, and whatever that you're going to learn in the entire process of learning that particular subject that you are interested in will be used, or will be weighed against the basics that you already have in that particular subject matter. So this goes to everything that you can ever think of. The fundamental thing in whatever that you want to learn, be it mathematics, be it a new language, anything you can think of, is to understand the core principles of that subject that you're trying to learn. So that's it. The next thing is quite simple. Most people when they try to learn something new, they try to crunch. They'll crunch that thing like it's done in university, where you try to learn a topic 2 to 3 months and then you never come back to it, you are done with it. And that thing is a mistake, because it's scientifically proven that when you're trying to learn something, when you're trying to learn something new or anything you can think of, it's very important for you to constantly read on that thing, constantly regurgitate on that information that you're trying to learn. Don't just do it once and then just wipe it off or just try to push it away. The reason why this methodology that people use of trying to crunch in a thing for a certain period of time is a mistake, because like I mentioned earlier, the human mind is not linear. So don't try to push information into your brain, into your mind in a linear pattern. However, you should understand that the mind is fractional, like I said. So when you're trying to learn something, do it at different intervals. Don't do it in a linear pattern. I'll give an example here. Let's say I'm trying to learn Seherero, right? And then it's me in my I'm studying it according to my program. Let's say it's midnight, it's 12 in a midnight, and I'm trying to learn Herero here. And then let's say maybe I'm learning phrases, Herero phrases, like my name is Inaranje o Lesego. Let's say I'm learning that. So the best way to learn is to avoid studying this Herero book each and every single day. I should do it by skipping. Let's say today I'm studying Herero. I should at least have like a gap of 2 days in between, and then I read it the next day. So in that way, it's not linear, and that's how you can learn fast, better, and smarter. So the whole idea of doing this is because you want your mind, you want to regurgitate the information. You want to force your mind to go into the database and remind itself of what you learned, in a previous week or in a couple of days ago. When you do this, this will help you to recall information better. This will create a neural path of what you've learned in a past, and it connects the dot. So basically, the whole idea of trying to do the same or follow the same linear pattern of learning, of trying to learn a particular subject matter, is actually insanity, because insanity is actually doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Take breaks, go back, see if you can remember what you tried to learn 2 days ago. And what is interesting about this is that in a process you develop new eyes, you develop new ears, you get to discover a whole lot of things about the way in which your brain works. Avoid using this whole thing of crunching, because when you crunch, you are making your brain to learn something forcefully. You're forcing your brain, and when you do it forcefully, that's where stress comes in. The same way that physical force can stress someone or stress anything, is the same way in which your brain, when you try to learn something forcefully that your work requires you to learn or society requires you to learn, or maybe like your lecturer, like what happens in universities where you're expected to learn this thing under pressure, that thing causes you to have lots of stress. That is why most university students suffer depression. Why? Because there's this too much pressure, too much stress, too much trying to force too much information in them, that within this week, within 5 days, within this 7 days, you should be able to know like 7 modules. You should be able to know about this 20 objectives within this 6 months that form a semester. You should be able to know this material that's a weight of a 2-year syllabus at a high school. So basically, that's why we have people who are stressed. That's why we have like people who are suffering a whole lot of mental conditions. And honestly, I don't think learning should be something that's stressful like it happens in universities. No, I think learning should be something that's a meta skill, something that is very fun, something that's interesting, something that's quite different from how it is made to be like in this present time. In a nutshell, or just to summarize what I just talked about in today's episode, when you look at the whole thesis, when you look at the whole concept of trying to optimize your brain to think smarter, to think faster, and to think better, it's really not an easy fix solution. It's living sustainable. It's giving your brain like the necessary tools, eating healthy so that it can function to its maximum potential. To make your brain to work at its optimal state, it's simply about understanding the basics of whatever that you're trying to learn. It's basically the contrary of what we know. That is why Elon Musk is best at what he does. That is why Richard Feynman said that it's not enough to just know something. It's not enough to know that this jersey here is green or it's yellow or whatever. No, it's about knowing the process. Like, how does this jersey become green? How does it absorb the dye to become this? What material is this? That's what Richard Feynman and Elon Musk's methodologies work like. They believe in not memorizing information, but they believe that it should be about understanding the core principles of a subject that you claim to understand or that you are in quest of understanding. You don't understand something until you're in a position where after learning it, you can repackage it in your own terms and be able to teach it to the next person. So if you can't teach it, if you can't pass that information to another person in a different approach, in a different presentation, or in a different presenting it in a different approach, then you're not a master, and you gotta do a lot of learning. You gotta go back to the drawing board and make sure that you relearn and re-understand that particular subject. From me, you've shared 4 times, Madam CEO. I'm just gonna say peace. Peace. Don't forget to order your insightful X chromosome merchandise and be part of the Vision Squad. We have hoodies, we have yellow, we have white, we have blue, we have royal blue. So make sure you order your own hoodie.